Testing, testing. Okay. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. All right. There we go. Hello, this is Brian Scuttle. Welcome to the Sonic Cinema Movie Chat. Again, hopefully this is going to be a more regular thing. I thought Sunday night might be a good night to have one since I basically had the day off, partially because of the fact that I was I was actually recording some podcasts earlier today, and we'll talk about that for a little bit. For now, you can check the links at the Twitch page. Sonic-cinema.com is the main one. You can also check me out at Letterboxd, Twitter, Tumblr, Sonic Cinema Podcast on YouTube, Sonic Cinema Patreon at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. This month, you guys are going to be getting a deep dive into Daniel Craig, James Bond films, and I hope you enjoy that. I'm looking forward to doing that, especially since two of the Daniel Craig movies I haven't actually seen since I watched them for the first time. So that's going to be interesting to do. And then the Sonic Cinema podcast at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, and basically wherever you listen to podcasts. And I rarely do this, but I'll go ahead and throw out a plug for my music. You can listen to some of it at sonic-cinema.com. You can also listen to it at iTunes, Google, Amazon, maybe Spotify, I'm not quite sure. And I have a page at Bandcamp that you can purchase some of it at. And I hope you check that out. And, anything you might be interested in, I hope you take a listen to it. I'm guessing something just happened in the Falcons game, the Falcons Buccaneers game. They started to do very well in terms of getting back into the game, but I have a feeling they are struggling once again. What? Yep, and I think they gave up a touchdown. So, thankfully my Browns won earlier today, which I'm kind of happy about that. They're 1-1. Defense is still coming together, but hopefully they'll be fine. I know Patrick, Michael, and I have talked about doing a football related live stream, and hopefully we'll get to that sometime soon. He's actually a Steelers fan, and that's gonna be fun. So today, I recorded 2 podcasts, and one is hopefully going to be in the next week or two that you'll be able to hear that. The other one's going to be pushed back till November because October's always is Halloween, and so October horror movies. And basically so today what we did, first I was joined by Timothy J. Cox, an actor whom I've reviewed several movies from, and I need to catch up on several more of his. He's mostly done short films. I think he's done the occasional feature film, but he mostly does short films and theater. He's really a lovely person. He's been on the podcast several times, and we recorded the second episode in my Unestablished Classic series, which the first episode of that dropped in April, and Timothy and I talked about The Grapes of Wrath, Citizen Kane, and Casablanca, three of the great iconic classics of film, and that was a lot of fun. And I decided after that record, I wanted to do something that was very much a continuing series. And so we recorded the second part of that. I decided it's going to be 2 episodes a year that we devote to that. And today's movies were Frank Capra's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard, and Sidney Lumet's 12 Angry Men, which I'd actually never seen before. And that was a tremendous movie. I'm so glad I got a chance to watch that. I'd never seen it before, and it's one of those things where I'm really grateful for, because I have the Criterion now. I'm really grateful to be able to say that I own that movie. And so it was a terrific discussion. I always enjoy talking movies with Tim, whether it's his own work or movies like uh, the classics that we have talked about over the past year, or something like Talented Miss Ripley, which he helped me talk about for the class of 1999, The Insider, or even American Beauty. Yeah, Sunset Boulevard is amazing. It's might be my choice for Billy Wilder's best film. I think he's done some fantastic ones, and it was fun going through each of them and each of his movies, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of a great one. That's kind of a great one. There's there. It might be a while before I get to like kind of a dud for Wilder. Every movie of his I've seen have been pretty good. And then after that one, immediately, uh, I recorded with Carlo with the Movie Loot podcast, and we talked about documentaries, and we each brought three different documentaries to the table, and that was a fun discussion. That was the bulk of the afternoon, which I knew it was going to be, accordingly to where the Tim's would be first, and then I could go into Carlos after that. There were some terrific documentaries talked about. And it's funny because that was deciding on my three documentaries was probably one of the hardest choices of which movies to watch that I've had. It's been a while since I've, because there are so many that I really actually love, and I didn't even think about it until we were starting to talk about this back in, I think, July is when we first started talking about documentaries. I mean, this past couple of years alone have been a wonderful collection of documentaries for me. And like last year alone, I could have talked about Coup 53, which was about the Iranian coup, uh, The Painter and the Thief, which is from Neon and is one of my absolute favorite documentaries, I think, ever. And then Feels Good Man, about the evolution of Pepe the Frog, from a cult underground comic book character to a symbol of the alt right. And just those three alone. And then there was a documentary about an adult film star called Morgana, which I saw at Fantasia Fest last year and was just absolutely wonderful about that. And it was this year. I love Summer of Soul. I love Clean Slate, which is this documentary I saw at the Atlanta Film Festival. I love A Glitch in the Matrix. And all of those, I could have gone with any one of those, but I chose some of the ones that are most obvious to me. I mean, there are so many more I could have gone with. Um, I chose Vernon, Florida, from the great Errol Morris, which is my favorite one of his. I did Bowling for Columbine, which is the Michael Moore film that has the most impact with me. And then I did Grizzly Man by Werner Herzog. It was great to boil it down to those three to really give a spotlight on some of the great documentary filmmakers of all time. And we'll that one is going to be in November. But I'm looking forward to hearing you guys hearing the conversation that Carlo and I had about his three, which we'll save until then. Needless to say, some of my favorite documentaries that didn't get included and that I really wanted to include, the Paradise Lost trilogy about the West Memphis Three was under consideration. Um, Four Little Girls by Spike Lee I could have easily chosen. Uh, Minding the Gap I thought was wonderful. I'm Not Your Negro was amazing. Um, like I said, The Painter and the Thief, Coup 53, Morgana, Clean Slate, Summer of Soul. Um, and then you also have Integrate Silence, which is about a filmmaker living with Carthusian monks to basically show how their lives are. And it's such a fascinating and poetic movie. It's one of the most beautiful documentaries I've ever seen. In the Realms of the Unreal, The Mystery of Henry Darger is a fascinating documentary that I absolutely love. Um, oh God, there are so many. There's so many I could have done. I was just going through my reviews, looking at them, and I mean, technically speaking, Haxan is a documentary, and I absolutely love Haxan. It's one of the movies I watch most frequently over Halloween and October. The Everest documentary that was on IMAX in 1998. That was one of my first real experiences. But I'm extremely pleased with the choices I made. It was great to be able to talk about Herzog for the first time, Michael Moore for the first time, and then Errol Morris for the first time. I've really gotten into Errol Morris's films. I actually own quite a few now, because I have the double disc with Gates of Heaven and Vernon, Florida from Criterion. I have The Thin Blue Line, which is his third fantastic documentary, and now I've got Fogs of War, his interview with McNamara, and I'm looking forward to that one, to listening back to that one, discussing and people listening to that one, and I will hopefully be on Carlo's podcast sometime in 2022, and we'll talk more there. And then I hope to have him back on Sonic Cinema. So I think that's pretty much it as far as podcasts. If you didn't check out my Dragon Con one from a couple weeks, by all means, please do so. That was a fun. It was fun to be able to talk about Dragon Con again. Today, though, I wanted to talk about a couple of different things, and a couple of different things that are sort of happening with Sonic Cinema and with my collection, my thinking about my collection in general. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about is reviewing DVDs and Blu-rays, which is something that I've actually now I've gotten screener DVDs before to watch movies. That's basically how I got a lot of movies as I started to receive screeners from filmmakers. So I have quite a few screener discs, but they weren't it wasn't necessarily in those cases, it wasn't necessarily about reviewing the discs so much as it was about reviewing the movie in particular. And I wanted to, and so earlier this summer, I actually started to receive emails from PR people about movies and Blu-rays to review, and so I've started to do that. I've talked about it a little bit on the Sonic Cinema group, and you can find a couple of the reviews. And I've talked about it a little bit here, but The first one was in July. These first two are both put out by Film Detective, which are doing really good jobs of uh, putting out sort of old B movies that have sort of gotten lost in genre films, and it's been really fun to get into them. The first one was 1951's Flight to Mars, which is an all right early 50s sci-fi movie. It's kind of hokey in its story. The visual effects are okay though for a low budget movie, and the color is really beautiful. And it's a different process uh, in when it comes to wanting to review movie like the specific Blu-ray versus just watching the movie. Because watching the movie, you're obviously focusing in on script, you're focusing in on the narrative. I mean, you're doing that with a Blu-ray review as well, but you're also looking at, well, how's the picture look? How's the sound look? Do they do a good job with remastering the sound mix, especially in this case? How they do restoring the color? And Flight to Mars, actually, I think they do an entertaining job. Like I say, it's a pretty low budget beam science fiction movie, but it's still one that's actually kind of interesting if you're a genre fan. And I like science fiction. I wish, and hopefully, this will get me more into 50s sci-fi, which I haven't really gotten too deep into. And as a commentary, it's got a couple of featurettes and a booklet that's really interesting as far as talking about the movie and stuff like that. The other one from Film Detective that I got that came out earlier this month is a film noir called A Life to Take, or A Life at Stake. And as Angela Lansbury, it's from 1955, and she is in okay, got it. What's going on here? And she is basically the femme fatale in this particular movie. And I don't know what's going on with my camera, but I'm just going to roll with it because I'm not going to go back and mess with it right now. So let's try to go like that for a little bit. Might That looks better. Okay. So A Life at Stake is basically about it's got a little bit of double indemnity going back to Billy Wilder for a second. And it's basically about a businessman who gets a proposition for a business deal, and the business deal won't go through without a certain amount of insurance put down. And there's also a love story involved, and with Angela Lansbury the main character. It's a nice little noir thriller. If you're a fan of film noir, if you're a fan of some of the deeper cuts of film noir, it's actually one putting, worth checking out. They've got commentary, they've got documentaries. It's funny because of the fact that one of the documentaries on A Life at Stake talks about how Ida Lupino's production company was one of the ones who was part of the production for Life at Stake. And I've been getting into Lupino's films recently. After having heard from about her for a long time, finally started again to some of her movies, and it's been fun to get into. And there are actually going to be a couple more Film Detective Blu-rays I'll be getting in the next month that I'm looking forward to checking out. They're both horror, sci-fi, and reviews will be in October. This weekend, a movie that I got from Music Box Films that is coming out on DVD is Dreaming Grand Avenue, and is a fantasy sci-fi sort of love story. Trying to think of the best thing. I mean, I guess technically it's basically about this couple that continues to meet in their dreams, but not necessarily in real life. And there's an existential aspect to it. and there's a lot of good ideas in it. Jackson Rathbone from the Twilight series is the main actor, and what's her name? Andrea Londo from Narcos is the main female character, and they do an okay job. Londo in particular is really good, and I think I think there are some really good ideas in it. The problem is there are too many ideas in it, I think, and that's kind of the thing that harms it. Overall, it's an interesting movie, and it's been interesting to see the interviews that they have on. Some of the deleted scenes are really interesting and could have added something with some more reconfiguring of the narrative. And then the commentary is a bit dry, but it's still pretty entertaining as well. Still pretty informative, pretty interesting as far as what the process of going through the movie. That review will come out tomorrow on Sonic Cinema. Life at Stake's there now, and Flight to Mars is there now. And basically the way I'm saying it up is first I review the movie. That's the easiest part. First I review the movie, talk about how I feel about the movie. Next up, talk about how the picture looks, how the sound looks, and as well as I can, because I'm not as my ears and eyes are not as trained to really see what idiosyncratic what details go into that. But I mean, I can tell you the transfers look fairly good, and they look really well, for especially the film detective ones, from what I can imagine are pretty difficult with the source material. And so those two are available now. Dreaming Grand Avenue coming out on Tuesday. That review is going to be on Monday. With that being said, sort of this has nothing to do with me reviewing DVDs. Although I do have a couple, in addition to a couple of upcoming film detective discs. Hopefully, there are going to be a couple of other major discs. I haven't heard definitively one way or the other yet, but hopefully there are going to be a couple of other bigger discs that are kind of more familiar to people that I will get a chance to review in the winter and in the fall and winter, and if it goes through, it's going to be pretty exciting. But with regards to this, what I wanted to do was I did want to point out the DVD of Princeton Holt's 2050, which is one of the best films I saw of 2018 as well as the 2010s. It is a science fiction love story. It's about artificial intelligence. Is about sex bots. Has some dark humor. It's got a lot of Kubrick inspirations. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I do have an audio commentary on that disc, and talking about some of the inspirations that I see in Princeton's movie, why the movie connected with me the way it did. I was pleased to have Princeton offer me the chance to record commentary for that. It was the first time in a while that I'd done that, so it was good to get back in practice. And I love the experience, and the movie continues to get richer and richer as I go on, and as I've watched it, and that is available commercially. So if you want to listen to an audio commentary that is not available online of mine, and I've got some fan commentaries that are available in Sonic Cinema, feel free to pick up the 2050 DVD and give that a listen. The main thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's something that's sort of been on my mind for, I don't know, about a year or so, is the idea of the movie collection. In my movie collection, as you can sort of see in the back, I've got a pretty staggering collection. that's barely even a touch of it, and it's convoluted right now. But I've got a lot of movies. I've got a lot of movies that I think are terrific. And I haven't really. I can't say that I've really gotten rid of anything that I didn't upgrade before. And it means that basically anytime I buy a disc, chances are it's either an upgrade or it's an addition to the pre-existing collection. So one of the things I've had in mind over the past year or so, as I've worked on solidifying the collection in the physical media form, is, and I'm never going to completely get rid of physical media, especially with the way streaming is, especially with the way video on demand is. If it's a movie that I really love, really want, I will want to buy it physically if it's available. Um, Even if it's a movie that's on a streaming service, like I love the Irishman. It's a Scorsese movie. I think it's a terrific movie, so I'm going to buy the Criterion. I adore Sound of Metal from last year. I'm definitely going to pick up that Criterion. Um, Tonight, what I wanted to focus on, though, is in regards to collection, are movies, a handful of movies, the idea of buying movies after first viewing. If a movie connects with you and you've only seen it once, haven't necessarily seen it again, but you feel compelled to buy it because it's like, yeah, that movie really connected with me at the time. Or there's another reason that I wanted it in general. And that's sort of one of those things that have gotten me on this train of thought, the idea of movies that I bought after one viewing because I really wanted them. I thought I wanted them in my collection. And at that time, I did want them in my collection. But, there are some movies where it's like now I look at them and I think about them like, do I still want that in my collection? And that's the question of the night. And it's funny because there are some movies that I've gotten recently that I'm like, yes, absolutely, I want that in my collection. There are also some movies I'm like, you know what? I'll probably watch this one more time, maybe write about it on Patreon, and then sell it because I don't really feel like I need to own it anymore, for whatever reason. And one of those is one that I actually got in the early 2000s during my Mandy Moore acting phase. Was a comedy drama she was in with Elijah Wood called All I Want. It's actually not a bad movie if I remember correctly. It's a coming of age movie, and Mandy Moore's actually always been a decent actress, and but I liked it. I wanted to include it, so I bought it in the collection. Can't say that I've seen it since, which, granted, that's not unusual for me. I have a tendency to. There are a lot of movies that I either have not gotten around to watching yet, or I just, I've watched once and that's it. I think that's one where I will probably give that one watch and we'll see how I feel. I can't right now. I mean, I can't really see myself necessarily hanging on to it. I might write something or do a video review or something like that for Patreon, and beyond that, I'll probably just sell it to Second and Charles or something like that because I don't know if I necessarily feel like the need to. I don't know that I don't necessarily feel the inclination to keep it because I'm at a different point in my life. Um, Another one that I got around the time that I liked it. I saw it once. I enjoyed it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get that one. Is Chris Columbus's "I Love You, Beth Cooper." This was obviously, I thought it was an enjoyable movie, but at the same time, I don't know that I will ever necessarily watch it again, except for maybe once more before I eventually sell the disc. And it doesn't mean that I wasted my time buying it necessarily. Just means that I'm not really interested in moving forward. Uh, I want there are certain movies I'm going to want in my movie collection, and I'm not sure if that's going to be one of them. Another one is a drama from 2000. It's actually got quite a few people in there. It's called The Prime Gig, which I saw and I liked. Part of the reason I got was because of the fact that it had has Amber Benson from Buffy in a small role, and it's fine. I mean, it's not enough of a role for Amber Benson for me to be like, oh yeah, this is a movie I really want to keep for her. It's not like something like Soberg's King of the Hill, where I think she has a really lovely role in it. But on top of that, King of the Hill is also a terrific movie. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I can't recommend it enough. And I mean, that's one again. I can see myself maybe watching that once more to, remember it, see how I feel about it now, and then just send off away from my collection because it just doesn't really serve much of a purpose now. Plus, I mean, honestly, they're they're really. I'm at that point where it's like there's not specific actors or actresses that I feel the need to like have every little thing that they have made. Like there are certain movie actors that'll have more of just by virtue of the fact that they're somebody that I really like, but at the same time it's like a movie that Amber Benson's probably in for like 5 minutes or maybe more is in, and I don't really remember much beyond that. I'm not really concerned about. Um, Another one is from 2007, which I really liked. It's written and directed by Mike White. It's called Year of the Dog. I bought this, and this was a movie that I really enjoyed. I really got a lot out of from an emotional standpoint at one point, and I haven't seen it since. Even when I was struggling emotionally, 2007, 2008, I didn't necessarily feel the need to watch it again. And I didn't remember liking it. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was perceptive, and Mike White, Molly Shannon's very good at it. But it's not one that I can see myself returning to time and time again. And you know, again, like the other ones, might watch it once more, sort of give my new thoughts. That one, who knows? Maybe it'll connect with me again, and I'll be like, I'm not quite ready to get rid of this one yet. But who knows? I know there are other movies that I've watched several more times since 2007 that connect with me a lot more, and that's one that I haven't really felt the itch to return to on a regular basis. That being said, there are movies I've gotten over the past few years that after one watch, I'm like, yeah, that really needs to be in my collection. And I think that's a movie that I will definitely watch. And it goes towards, all of those are kind of all coming of age, small dramas. There's one particular reason or another that I really connected with it at the time or really felt like I need to own it at the time. All of these, the ones that I'm going to point out now, are ones that really resonate with me as a moviegoer for what resonates with me is in terms of movie watching now. And they're movies. I will admit the first one I actually saw twice before I bought it, but I knew after the first time I watched it, I definitely wanted to own it. And so we're going to start with a science fiction film from Denmark, I believe. It's called Aniara. If you saw Claire Denise's High Life, it will remind you of that. It's based on a poem, and it's about a journey into deep outer space with a on a sort of what on a sort of not really a vacation ship, but a starship that is able to sustain life for a significant part of time. And it's one of the first movies I screened as a from a PR screening standpoint, and it was absolutely beautiful. I loved watching it. I was so taken by it, and I watched it again. It ended up on Hulu, and actually it still is on Hulu. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's it's a movie. It connected with me more than High Life did. It connected me with me more than Ad Astra did. You can also see a little bit of Passengers, that Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt movie from 2016 in it, and it's just really haunting piece of science fiction. And it really connects with me in the types of science fiction that I really resonate with. Stuff like Tarkovsky, 2001, Stalker, AI. And I think that's the thing that I love the most about it, other than the fact that it's a tremendous visual accomplishment on what had to have been a smaller budget than any of those movies we've gotten nowadays. It's well worth checking out. Like I said, it's on Hulu. Um, Next up is a little weird horror movie called House, which, if you're a fan of the genre, you're no doubt familiar with it. It's a singular film from Nobuhiko Obayashi, who actually passed away. His last film, Labyrinth of Simba, which I think is coming out sometime soon, because I just got a PR email about it. I had seen Labyrinth of Simba at the for Fantasia Fest, and I was fascinated by it. I thought it was fascinating from a visual standpoint, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know he made House. And look at this, image. How are you not going to be immediately intrigued by what the hell this is going to be? Um, well, it was on HBO Max, and it's still on HBO Max actually. And so I watched it one day, and oh my god, it just really, I loved every minute of it. I thought it was wild. I thought it was just a creepy, crazy horror movie. And I knew it was something that I was going to need to add into my collection because I love the vision of it. I love the imagination of the visuals. Labyrinth of Sim, I'm not sure if I will add, but I would certainly give it. I certainly want to give it another shot because it's such a unique film, and there are other films of, and I do want to check out other films of Obayashi's. Um, and so this year during one of the Criterion sales, I'm like, okay, I have to pick up House, and it's one that I can't wait to revisit and see how I feel about it. And it's the type of imaginative type of horror movie that I really kind of connect with and really kind of love right now to a certain degree. Um, this next one is one of the great classics of the Western genre. It is Robert Altman's McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which I had never seen before I reviewed it for my repertory review in early 2020. And I knew it was Altman. I had heard nothing but great things about it over the years, and I just was entranced by it. I fell in love with it, and it really was something that I felt like I absolutely need to see this again and again. And just this vision of Altman's is just incredibly rich. So it was during one of the sales last year where I'm like, I have to make McCabe and Mrs. Miller part of the collection. And I haven't rewatched it since because I'm trying to get through some of the movies that I haven't watched yet before I start revisiting stuff like House and McCabe and Mrs. Miller. And it was an immediate decision that yes, I absolutely had to get that. And you know, all three of those movies, I mean, like I've sort of said with all three of them, they all have something in common where it's like they more, I think a lot of them kind of more reflect me at this stage of my life than the ones that like Year of the Dog, I Love You, Beth Cooper, All I Want, and Prime Gig. Like I remember why I got those. I don't know that they really have much enough of a connection for me to keep them now going forward. And so it's one of those things where it's like out with the old, in with the new. And it's funny because some of the new is very, very old, but you know what? That's perfectly fine. The last one that I wanted to bring up in regards to this particular topic is one that I actually just watched last month. And it was my birthday selection because I wanted to start a tradition on repertory reviews of watching a movie from my birth year that I'd never seen before. And this year, I decided to kick it off with William Friedkin's Sorcerer with the great Roy Scheider. And it just really, that movie completely hit hard with me when I saw it last month. And I love how insane it is. I love how crazy Friedkin's vision is. I'm obsessed with the Tangerine Dream score. It is absolutely wonderful. And I knew I had to have it. So yeah, Sorcerer's in the collection because I can see myself watching that one over again and really getting a kick out of it and really enjoying the creativity of it. The look at how it portrays a particular degree of madness and the characters who are basically tasked with this insane task. And I just love that Tangerine Dream score. It's fantastic. Um, there are probably going to be more movies over the years, over the next few months that I look at and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I probably need to rethink that. But, there are also going to be movies that come in where it's like, you know what? I'm really glad that I have that now. And I will say there's one that I watched for the established classics that I'd never seen before, but I bought the Criterion with the purpose of watching it for the first time. And now I'm very grateful that I have it because I can always go back and revisit. And that was 12 Angry Men, which I had never seen before I watched it for the podcast prep. And it's such a brilliant piece of work. And I really look forward to revisiting that and checking it over the years. I'm curious. I'm sure there are different movies that you guys have that you are interested in, or that you were interested in growing up, or when you were younger and were like, oh, I've got to have that in my collection. And it's like now you look at it and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I feel like that. I feel like everybody's got those movies, but hit me up on social media with some of those. My Twitter's on here, Letterboxd is on here, or Sonic Cinema YouTube channel, Twitch. I'd love to hear from some of them. I think that's going to be the end of this episode of the Sonic Cinema Movie Chat. Thank you very much for following, and I don't know when the next one will be. Hopefully, it'll be sometime relatively soon. But I really have enjoyed doing these. It's been a lot of fun to help hone my craft as far as talking about movies, especially by myself without somebody else around. But it's also been good to have guests, and hopefully I'll get back to that as I get into more of a regular routine with these. So that's it for now. The website is www.sonic-cinema.com. There's the Sonic Cinema podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe to it on YouTube, Apple, Google, and Spotify. And other places, check out my music at Bandcamp or sonic-cinema.com. And you can also check out the Sonic Cinema Patreon. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good rest of the evening.